And hello guys, what is going on? How y'all doing tonight? This is the Club of the Man 1993 and we are here for my WWE Royal Rumble 2020, the Women's Royal Rumble match, recap and review, the 35th edition to this Royal Rumble recap and review series, as I of course add on every year with each of the Royal Rumble matches. So, we're kicking off Royal Rumble week. We're going to recap and review the women's match from last year, which was the third women's Royal Rumble match in history. Now, the hype for this match, it was going to be very heavily on NXT. Definitely, of course, as, the women's roster, let's just face it, the main roster for the women isn't as big. Well, when booked right, it can be considered stacked. But there's still not enough women on the main roster to be, considered, a full roster with a bunch of, must-see stars being in this women's Royal Rumble match. So, of course, the graphics and whatnot weren't too stacked with, too many announced entrants ahead of time. But overall, I'd say this was still a good Rumble. I'd still say 2019's Women's Rumble match was probably my favorite. I would still say. This one, I felt probably could have gone up there a little higher if it wasn't for the end result of this Rumble match. And to think where it went from here, the fallout from this could have been a little bit better, which we'll talk about that very briefly at the end. But this was still a good Rumble. I do realize, looking at the time on this one compared to the time from the previous Women's Rumble match, was shaved off about a good 20 minutes. Now, the 2019 Women's Rumble match, that was great, but that match was definitely too long. An hour and 12 minutes, I think it was. That's too long. This one was like a little under an hour. I can't remember. Which where a Rumble match, I feel, on an average, should be. About an hour, I would say. So, even though the 2019's match game was good, like I said, it was a slight bit too long, and I think the 2019 Rumble pay-per-view in general, which was like 4 hours and 40 minutes, again, realizing that was definitely too long of a show, cut down about a good 40 minutes on it, which was good. Plus, two, I don't think we got quite as many matches as we did. I think this year we're also cutting back on matches also, but then again, it's a Rumble during the pandemic, so unfortunately, I didn't think I would be coming up here a year later and talking about this Rumble at a time like this. But let's just roll into it. And as always, for this series, again, I usually mention some of the stats, like the location, the date, the stipulation, of course, which is obvious every year, even though this year it ended up being a little different. The longest time, most eliminations, and the total duration, and of course the winner and a final grade of this Rumble match. So let's roll into it. Again, this took place last year on January 26th, 2020. Of course, also the day Kobe Bryant passed away also after he died in that helicopter accident or whatever the heck it was with his daughter, unfortunately, a couple hours before the Rumble. This took place at Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, home of the 2017 World Series champions, the Houston Astros. It was supposed to be in T-Mobile Park this year. Unfortunately, it's not the case. Well, isn't it this year? If it's still going to be staying in the Thunderdome, that means it's taking place still inside a baseball stadium since we're in Tropicana Field, but so technically that tradition is continuing for the third year in a row this year. Of course. But anyway, so Stipulation as well as a number one contendership at Wrestlemania for any of the, well, at the time, it was any of the two main roster women's championships. This year, though, we made history, did a little bit of a different route. And of course, at the end, I'll share who had the longest time, the most eliminations, the total duration, and the winner of this match. So, our number one entrant was Alexa Bliss, who at the time was a babyface in a tag team with Nikki Cross. And I will continue to say to this day, I'm sorry. Even though I thought Alexa Bliss needed a face turn for something fresh, she was dead in the water bland as a babyface. Now, of course, she's a totally different character now. Even though I'm still not sure if she's a face or a heel, because it's in the midst of this feud with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. But then again, we are also seeing her act heelish against people like Asuka and whatnot, and it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, she came out as the number 1 entrant. Number 2, at the time in NXT, was the EST of WWE. Well, at that time, the EST of NXT. Now she's the EST of WWE. And my pick to win this year's Rumble match, Bianca Belair. This was definitely a great, kind of like a breakout performance, even though Bianca had already had plenty of time in NXT. This was a good way for people who only watch main roster to know who Bianca Belair was. Bianca was definitely one of the biggest stars of this Rumble match. So we start off with those 2. Number 3 was our first surprise. It was Molly Holly came out though as Mighty Molly. Had a good performance, I will say. She looked pretty good in this match. Number 4 was Alexa Bliss's tag team partner at the time, Nikki Cross. And of course, they, stuck together as an alliance and did business. Number 5 was Lana. And we all know, of course, how this was right at the beginning. Well, kind of already, past that, but this was during a time where Lana had just gotten married to Bobby Lashley, and it's just been a complete downhill spiral for Lana ever since, of course. She came out and started gloating how she claims she is the best WWE superstar ever, blah, blah, blah. She's going to win the Rumble match, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. She gets in the match, and no one cares. Number 6 from NXT also, Mercedes Martinez. Would have loved to have seen her get an elimination or 2. I would have liked to have seen. Because, I'm definitely very intrigued and high on Mercedes Martinez, as I definitely think she's a force to be reckoned with. Again, she was originally brought up to the main roster and put in Retribution later in 2020, but she pulled out of that and she's now back in NXT and looking to be fighting Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship at TakeOver 33. I'm going to probably put that in for my card predictions when I do that, if I get to do that this week. So we have her at number 6. Number 7 was Liv Morgan, who had just returned after being repackaged, and she was randomly a romantic interest for Lana. Well, Lana's random lesbian lover or something. It was super random. She comes out and immediately just goes right after Lana, and Liv Morgan then eliminate Lana, and then Lana climbed back up onto the apron and pulled Liv off the top turnbuckle, and they brawled outside the arena. Again, that was so... I don't get why they even inserted Liv Morgan into that storyline. I think they just did that just so they could have just for one mixed tag match with Rusev, Liv Morgan against Bobby Lashley, and Lana. And of course, remember, this was right before Rusev had left the WWE after he got released last April. And now he is Miro in AEW. So, of course, that just got out of the way right away. I'm like, cool, we can move on with that. Awesome. So we have that elimination, the first eliminations of the match. Then we have number 8. Mandy Rose, a.k.a. God's greatest creation. And this was at the beginning of the story of her love story with Otis. This is while she was, of course, still a heel, teamed up with Sonya Deville in Fire and Desire, before both of them, especially Sonya, had drastic improvements by just feuding with each other. 2020 was definitely a big uphill year for, well, of course, around the summertime when Sonya had that break-in at her house. It was definitely, not a good time, but definitely a breakthrough year for both of these women for sure. But Mandy came out at number 8. Then NXT's Candice LeRae came out at number 9. Good to see Candice again, as she was in the previous Royal Rumble as well, and I'm pretty sure she'll probably be in this year's also. So Candice came out at number 9, and then Bianca Belair would then eliminate Mighty Molly, and then there was a spot here. So we had 2 near eliminations that they got saved, and they were pretty good. Mandy Rose gets dumped over the top rope. Now, I feel this may have been botched maybe a little bit, because she went over the top rope. She laid flat on her back on the apron, like she was still, and it was like, and then, boom, she plopped off the apron. And I'm like, well, that just sucks. She's already eliminated. But instead, we see Otis. Again, this is the beginning of the whole love story building with Mandy Rose and Otis. Otis was laying flat on the ground on the other side, and Mandy Rose landed face forward right into Otis's face, right on his belly. And Mandy Rose was like, okay. And Otis was like, oh yeah. And Otis saved Mandy Rose. So Mandy got up, stood on Otis's belly, and was able to hop right back in the match. And Otis remained out there to cheer on his lover. So that was a nice near elimination there. Sonya Deville came out at number 10. Now, of course, they had the whole storyline already with them, obviously the tease of the tension building between Fire and Desire. But they said they would not eliminate each other in this match. They teamed up, and they eliminated Mercedes Martinez. I wouldn't have done that one. I mean, again, I would have liked to have seen Mercedes maybe get a little bit longer, get like an elimination or two in a Rumble match. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but, it's whatever. She was in there for a decent amount of time, but she got eliminated by both members of Fire and Desire. Number 11 was at the time, and former WWE superstar, and former women's tag team champion Kairi Sane. Boy, like I said, they really dropped the ball with Kairi Sane. I'm sorry, like, the moment that her and Asuka, were tag champions, Kairi was just barely ever noticed. Asuka was showcased quite a bit. Kairi, though, unfortunately, she got the short end of the stick. So she was that number 11. Number 12 was Mia Yim. Remember Mia Yim? Remember her? Yeah, I miss Mia Yim. I miss Mia Yim. Oh, I know, she's reckoning now in the Retribution, but did anybody else give a crap? Not me. She was number 12. That was a nice surprise I thought we'd get. And then Bianca Belair, though, started showing off more of her power, where she had Alexa Bliss up in the air, spun her around, and Alexa's feet knocked into her own best friend, Nikki Cross, and Nikki Cross got eliminated, making that I think the second elimination by Bianca Belair. Yes, her second elimination. And then Sonya Deville had inadvertently knocked into Mandy Rose and knocked Mandy off the apron, but Mandy got caught by Otis yet again. Otis is like, oh yeah! But then, off distraction, somebody's like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do that, no. Bianca Belair dumps her over, knocks her right into Mandy Rose and Otis, eliminating Fire and Desire from the match. So that was a nice spot there. Number 13, Dana Brooke. And then we had Candice LeRae then get eliminated by Bianca Belair. And then Kairi Sane got eliminated by Alexa Bliss. So that's a shame again for Kairi Sane. Number 14, Tamina. I don't know how big of a fan of Tamina I am. But nope, she got eliminated pretty quickly by Bianca Belair not long after that. So I'm like, cool. Sounds good. Yeah. Bye-bye. Of course, we just had Tamina. We didn't have Nia Jax. She was still out with her knee injury. She missed a whole year. So Nia was not in this match. Number 15 was Dakota Kai. Here was another missed opportunity I will mention a little bit later on. But this was a missed opportunity. I know this was main roster, but when you have a storyline going on in NXT and you kind of completely bypassed it, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but still, because they did do something with this at Worlds Collide the night before. But they still should have done something to, just to spice up just a little bit in the Rumble match. So Dakota Kai was number 15, and then Mia Yim was eliminated by Alexa Bliss. Number 16, Chelsea Green. That's when she was part of the Robert Stone brand. And of course, they cut that off quickly for God knows, who knows why. And then, of course, Chelsea Green was supposed to be on the SmackDown Women's Survivor Series team this year, but unfortunately, she got hurt in her main roster debut match, that qualifying match. But she probably will be back and on SmackDown probably when she does come back from injury. Don't know when that's going to be. But she came out and she eliminated Dakota Kai. But then Green then immediately gets eliminated by Alexa Bliss. And then it was just cleaning house there because then Dana Brooke got eliminated by Bianca Belair. And then just like that, it was just right back to how we started with numbers 1 and 2, Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. But after some good back and forth action, Bianca Belair then eliminated Alexa Bliss. So it's just Bianca Belair after the first half of the match. So both Rumble matches were kind of the tale of two matches a little bit. Well, the men's Rumble more so this year, yes. The women's not as much, but it felt like that because it felt like a clean slate whenever I got back to Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair, but then it was just Bianca. So Bianca already has had a dominating performance here. And then came number 17, Charlotte Flair, entering her second Women's Royal Rumble match. She was not in the first one because she was SmackDown Women's Champion at the time, although you can be world champion still in the Rumble matches. That's Brock Lesnar. We'll talk about that in the men's Rumble match. So Charlotte comes out number 17, has a nice back and forth exchange with her and Bianca Belair. Number 18 was Naomi, making her return for the first time, I think, since like July, I think it was, because her and the Usos were out for till around this time because of some, I think, DUI issues or something like that they had. So this was Naomi's return, and of course, she got a massive pop. It was good to see Naomi back, and we may be getting the same exact thing at this year's Rumble match, because Naomi's been out since about around the same time, this time due to injury. And she's back on Monday Night Raw as of now. I think she's on Raw. So, we'll see where it goes from there if she just come back here. But Naomi came out to a big pop. Number 19 was Beth Phoenix, the Hall of Famer. Interesting enough, though, Beth Phoenix was a little more heelish in this Rumble match. I was surprised by that. I'm not sure why they went with Beth being more of a heel in this match, but whatever. So she came out at number 19. And number 20 was Toni Storm, who was still with NXT UK at the time. She was in the midst of she had just had that triple threat, I think it was, at Blackpool 2 with her, Kaylee Ray, and Piper Niven. That's another person I thought should have been in this Rumble match, was Piper Niven. Probably not this year because of the pandemic, but I don't think we're going to be in anyone from the UK brand in the Rumble match this year because of the pandemic. But it was good to see Toni in this match. I thought she should have been in there the year before, but good to see her in this match. She was in there for quite a while, but unfortunately, I don't think she got any eliminations. But it was nice to see her get a good amount of time in this Rumble match. But here's where Bianca Belair's night came to an end. She was eliminated by Charlotte Flair. And as I said, Bianca was the star, well, you can kind of say she probably was the best thing about this match, I gotta say. I'll read the results at the end, but Bianca Belair, and like I said, she may have been the star of this match, but this year, she better be the winner. Well, she is my pick. One of the few people I have in mind to win this Rumble match. We'll talk about that when I get to my preview and predictions later on this week for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So Bianca was eliminated. Number 21, a surprise. It was Kelly Kelly. Now, originally this was supposed to be Sasha Banks' spot, I heard. But apparently Sasha Banks did suffer an injury, I heard. If Sasha was in the Rumble match, she definitely would have been another favorite to win this match. So Kelly Kelly was number 21. Number 22 was Sarah Logan. This was right before she got released also. And unfortunately, she didn't last long. She got eliminated by Charlotte Flair. And then so did Kelly Kelly get eliminated by Charlotte Flair. Number 23, well, I remember when they did this, it was, they were teasing throwing out Beth Phoenix. And of course, who could come out to save Beth Phoenix? None other than her good longtime friend, Natalya. Natalya came out at number 23, who was a babyface back then. Like I said, I prefer Natty as a babyface. I don't like her as a heel. I really don't know why they had to turn her heel again this year. It made no sense, and it just... But like I said, she's just awful as a heel. I'm sorry, her promos are worse as a heel. As a babyface, she just fits better as a babyface. So she's number 23. Number 24 for the second year in a row in the Rumble was Xia Li. Of course, this year, I mean, wouldn't surprise me if they used her again, but freshen up a little bit. But of course, Xia Li, before she was revamped with Boa and whatever the gimmick they gave her, but we'll see where it goes, of course, with that. Number 25 was Zelina Vega. Of course, we didn't know at the time this would be her last Rumble match, as she was released just a couple months ago because she refused to. Wait, was it probably October? I think it was right before. Wasn't it? It was not long after the drafts. It was sometime in October she was released, but of course because she refused to delete her Twitch streams. So good for you, the Internet Dad now, as we want to call her, whatever the heck Aleister Black's real last name is. But she came out at number 25, and around this time, Beth Phoenix got busted open. She got some type of a cut on her head, and she was bleeding, so half her hair was red and half of it was still blonde, which looked pretty sick, I'll be honest, but just, always hope that someone's okay when they get, when they're beaten up like that. Number 26 was Shotzi Blackheart. Of course, this is around the time where Shotzi first started in NXT, and again, the start of this little bit of an overpush for her. She had just been known as the one who eliminated Shayna Baszler in NXT for a number one contenders battle royale. So she was in this Rumble match. Don't be surprised if she's in this year's match also. I feel like she would be a priority. So she was in this match. And then this came to Naomi's close elimination. I think she was battling with Natalya and Beth Phoenix, I think it was. And then she kind of lost her footing. She starts walking down the stairs like she was trying to stop her momentum. And she jumped across onto the barricade and held on like she was a spider. She sat up on the barricade and she started instead of walking on it, she started scooching on it until she got to the announce tables. But then it was weird. Naomi was supposed to be a babyface in this match. And for some reason, she took her time going across the announce tables. And, she was out there for, she didn't get back in until, well beyond after number 30 came out. So I thought that was a little bit odd, how, Naomi's supposed to be a babyface here, but, why is she kind of a little heelish by staying on the outside as long as she did? That threw me off a little bit. I was confused by that one. So we had that, and then out came Carmella at number 27 before she was revamped. And then Charlotte was then, I think, double teamed by Natalya and Beth Phoenix, but she was thrown through the middle ropes and out. So it looked like she was eliminated, but she was not. So that was a close elimination there on the Queen. Number 28 was Tegan Nox, which was a nice surprise. Definitely deserved, especially, her story. But unfortunately, I felt, again, as I said before, when Dakota Kai came out, that was a missed opportunity. They should have at least had these two cross paths and one eliminate the other or something like that. That was a missed opportunity there. That was one big nitpick I had about this match, because that was in the midst of their feud before their street fight at TakeOver Portland, which was a very good match. But Tegan was out, number 28. Number 29, Santino Marella. Santino Marella comes out dressed up as Santino Marella, Miss WrestleMania. Comes out, gets in the ring, goes straight for Beth Phoenix, trying to reunite Glamorella. But Beth was not having it. And then, basically, Santina got sandwiched between Natalya, and they're both staring down like, what the heck are you doing here? Pulls out the Cobra, like, oh, well, we do this, but realizing, oh, wait, nobody wants me in here. gives herself the Cobra, and eliminates herself. So bye-bye, Santina. Not worth the time, but that happened there. And then number 30, Shayna Baszler. Now, here's the thing. Shayna had a great she was only in this match for about a little under 5, for the remaining 5 minutes of the match. She came out there, and she cleaned house. The only thing is, though, is I wish they would have stayed in longer. I felt she probably could have came out at like number 20 or 22. Not number 30. I don't know why. Number 30 just felt like it was just like they should given her more time in this match, I felt. Like she didn't need to have just like a very short dominating performance. I mean, maybe too at the time, because especially how they booked her in the Elimination Chamber, which was not that good of a match, of course. How she just wrecked shop there. But she comes in, and again, like she just takes everyone out. She eliminated Xia Li. Then Tegan Nox, then Zelina Vega, and then Shotzi Blackheart. And then Naomi finally uses like the top of the Spanish announce table as a bridge to get back to the match at this point. But then Baszler still was taking everybody out. She eliminated Carmella, then Toni Storm, and then Naomi. So just like that, Shayna Baszler basically eliminated just about everyone except for the Final Four. So the Final Four was Natalya, Beth Phoenix, Shayna Baszler, and Charlotte Flair. And of course, Beth and Natty stayed, teamed up, tried to take out both Baszler and Flair, but they had taken them down, but not eliminated them. So for a moment or so, they were celebrating a reign together. But then Beth Phoenix eliminates Natalya. So like I said, Beth, again, just strangely enough, was being booked as the heel in this match, which I wasn't sure why. So now it's down to just Beth Phoenix, Shayna Baszler, and Charlotte Flair. I'm like, let's do this. At this point, my pick to win was Shayna Baszler. I think Shayna was my number one person, my number one pick to win this from the beginning, but like, come on, let's do this. It's time for Shayna. So Shayna then eliminated Beth Phoenix. And it came down to Charlotte Flair and Shayna Baszler. And I thought Shayna was going to get her. They had this moment where Charlotte was like hanging onto the ropes, like being held up so high in the air, freaking out. And I'm like, come on. But then as Charlotte was getting dumped out, Charlotte's ankles grabbed around the neck of Shayna Baszler, did a hurricanrana, some type of thing, and tossed Shayna Baszler over the ropes, and Charlotte Flair wins the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match. I remember feeling kind of deflated when this happened. And again, I'm not someone who says Charlotte Flair is just a waste of time. I think Charlotte's amazing. She deserves it. She deserves the opportunity she's gotten. She's definitely been a pinnacle in this whole women's evolution. That's for sure. And I felt that with her career, yeah, she should win a Rumble match. I just didn't feel like this was the one. I don't know why. I just didn't feel like, the hype was not there, because at the time we had Bayley as SmackDown Women's Champion and Becky Lynch as Raw Women's Champion, who Charlotte's already feuded with so many times and had how many matches with the past year. So I was just like, why? Like I felt deflated. And then she cut some promo, basically, how she's the best and getting back on top, blah, 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 as usual. So I'm like, okay, now what's this going to relate to? Because like I said, like, Sasha Banks could have won that, feuded with Bayley. We could have had, Bianca Belair could have won that with how great she did. Shayna Baszler was still my pick to win, even though we ended up getting Shayna Baszler winning the Chamber and going to WrestleMania to face Becky Lynch in a kind of a disappointing match. It was kind of more of like a decent match rather than a good match I expected between the two of them. So I was a little disappointed by that match for sure. So I remember feeling, I thought the Rumble was good. The Women's Rumble was kind of deflating. But of course, what I appreciated, though, was they tried something different. Which at first I was fine with, but then it was like, yeah. Charlotte Flair ended up accepting a challenge from not the Raw Women's Champion, not the SmackDown Women's Champion, because she's already feuded them how many times the past year, but the NXT Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. And, of course, that was a dream match of mine for sure. Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. And despite the results with Rhea tapping out, I thought her and Charlotte had an excellent match. I thought it was a really well put together match between them. Very good back and forth. I think it was the opener of Night 2 of WrestleMania 36, I think it was. It was, yeah. Women used to have a stadium, though, of course, for them, but it was right at the beginning of the whole pandemic. But, so Charlotte won that match, though. And I thought it was going to be, it was, you know, nice for something different to give, you know, the women something different to do in NXT. To me, I just didn't think it worked. I didn't think it worked. To me, it felt like it just overexposed Charlotte Flair even more on all three brands. And it felt like nobody was really benefiting from her being champion. She would hold the title until June when she dropped it to Io Shirai at NXT TakeOver in Your House in a triple threat match, including Rhea Ripley also. So, I don't know. I feel like, you know, it was one of the things where it was like, it was worth the shot. It was worth it, but did Charlotte Flair really need to win the Royal Rumble for that? Like, it's kind of like how, you know, at SummerSlam 2019, she didn't have anything to do, so she challenged Trish Stratus. She could have maybe done something like that, but at least it kind of made the NXT Women's title feel pretty important. Although, remember, that was around a time where for like a month, they were briefly calling both NXT championships the NXT Championship for some reason, because they were trying not to define them as women and whatnot, which I get, but it didn't work when they did that. That was goofy. But yeah. Charlotte winning this, I just still thought that it could have gone to someone else. I mean, at some point, Charlotte Flair should have won a Royal Rumble. I didn't feel it was this one. I certainly don't feel it should be this one either this year. Dear Lord, please no. Please no. This year, it should be Bianca Belair. That's still my pick to win this year's Women's Royal Rumble match. But guys, that is my recap and review of the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match. Of course, the final results here was, again, the longest time in this match with 35 minutes and 29 seconds, Bianca Belair. Most eliminations, there was a tie, and it's now a new women's record for single eliminations in a Women's Royal Rumble match. In one match, 8, both by Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler. And again, Shayna was only in there for about 4.5 minutes, but she eliminated 8 people. Bianca eliminated 8 over the span of 35 minutes. Excellent match. Definitely, though, Bianca was definitely the MVP of this match, I feel. And the total duration of this match, 54 minutes and 20 seconds. So about 20 minutes off from 2019's Royal Rumble match. And the winner, Charlotte Flair. Which, again, I'll say, and I gave this match a B. It was a good match. Some good spots. Some good missed opportunities. And the follow-up was a nice gamble, even though it didn't quite pan out as good as I had hoped it would have. With Charlotte winning the NXT Women's Championship, and I felt like it did nothing but just overexposed her more. But, like I said, it was not a bad Rumble. It was still a fun match. I gave it a B. So, guys, that's my Women's 2020 Royal Rumble recap and review. I will do the Men's Rumble recap and review sometime this week also. Hopefully by tomorrow, I would say. And we will go from there. So, guys, that's episode number 35. What were your thoughts on the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match? Would you have wanted Charlotte Flair to win this? Do you think the booking was done right with Charlotte going for the NXT Women's Championship? If not, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below as always. If there's always, slap a like on the video and subscribe or comment to my channel and follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. I'm checking out, guys. I'll see you all later. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.